Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Let's get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Hey friends, hey, welcome to Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards. Let me just say it has been a while since I've been on. So much has happened. As you all know, I'm a big traveler and I've been doing a lot and also taking time to just heal within. So I just felt it was time to make another podcast and bring you all up to date. Where do I begin? Well, one thing I want to start with is gratitude. And I want to just give a big shout out to everybody who has checked out my book on Audible, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, is now available on Audible. And the feedback I've been getting is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you to everybody who takes time out to place a review. It just means so much to me. And I'm going to start with that. All the gratitude and love and happiness. And my heart is full. So thank you. So recently I have, like I said, I've done some traveling. I went to Arizona. As you know, I live partially in Wyoming, mostly in Wyoming, and also Arizona. But I went to Arizona to go to a sunrise ceremony, which is a ceremony of a young girl becoming a woman. And it's in the native culture. It's called Changing Woman. So if you're familiar with the Latin or Hispanic culture, we call them quinceañeras. So many cultures have them where the young girl or a boy becomes, this transition into adulthood. So I just want to give a shout out again to my Apache teacher, Bob Stevens of the San Carlos Apache Reservation, who invited all of his students, I being one of them, my sisters being some of them. And we all went down to this amazing sunrise ceremony. It was, I believe, 4 days, but we went for 3. And I got to say, what I took from that is a powerful reminder of the resiliency, the strength, and the courage that we all have within us. And as a indigenous woman myself, I definitely was reminded of that in a different way. So this podcast, I want to talk about complacency. The reason I want to talk about complacency is because I have found myself in a state of complacency so many times. And I think so many of us actually do find ourselves in a place of complacency, or we find ourselves stagnant. And there's a big difference between being stagnant, being complacent, and also being somebody who just takes time out for yourself, whether that's taking off time from social media or taking time off from relationships, or being social and just kind of digging in and going to yourself and taking that time that you need, which in the beginning, it's actually what started with me. The grief of my mother. My mom passed away in January of this year, 2022. And I'm still heartbroken, and I don't think that's going to go away. I'm still heartbroken over my brother who passed from suicide in 2017. And, that still is there. And it's this consistent healing journey. However, with my mom, it's been really, really challenging for me. I found myself struggling to just live every day and to find the strength and that resiliency to keep going and thriving in my endeavors. I started working for the Arizona newspaper, the Mojave Daily newspaper, back in December while I was in Arizona caring for my mother. And I just found myself, taking time out. I had a job. I basically had a routine, a very simple one, and I enjoyed that. So that way it would give me time to grieve. However, 6 months later, with the job, I'm finding myself complacent. I'm finding myself, in this weird place that I have been before, just not in many, many, many years. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, how are you complacent? You do so much. You go so many places. You're like a rock star. But the truth is that many of us who are so strong out there and so lively, We're fighting our own demons just like everybody else. Like my best friend Liz says, everybody's got their shit. Everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you make yourself look. Everybody's got their shit. And that shit is the thoughts that go through our head, the demons that we fight, the hormones that we battle, the imbalances, the addictions, the sorrow, the sadness, the grief, anything that we've been through in our life that we're still, trying to heal within. And that can sometimes become louder in our ears. So that's why I'm such a big advocate of, being compassionate with yourself, being patient with yourself, self-love, self-care, and also being mindful of that same, those same attributes to others around you. Now, one of the things that's always crossing my mind is, this podcast, because I'm so inconsistent with it, especially when I go through something devastating, which is crazy because I feel like those things happen a lot in my life, but I'm always like, should I just stop doing the podcast? But then I think to myself, why did you start in the first place? Why did you start? Why do you start these things in the first place? And my answer has always been because it's healing for me. It's healing to speak. It's healing to share the stories of my life. And I realize as a podcaster, I don't have to be like everybody else. Neither do you. We don't have to be like everybody else. I know there's big money in podcasting. There's big money in all these endeavors. But I think to myself, I'm not at the same place as a lot of people, and they're not at the same place as me. This podcast is a way for me to share my life with you and to tell you about the things I've gone through in hopes that it inspires you in maybe a different way than you've heard, or maybe in the same way, but just validating that way. So I'm going to jump into my story of podcasting and the complacency I feel in life right now and how I am taking it day by day to overcome. So one of the cool things about podcasting for me is how I wanted to keep it raw and real and tell my stories. And it has been such a journey these past few weeks since my last podcast that me and my co-host, January Liddell, did with Dr. Luann Brizadine. It was so exciting. And then life, but we don't get paid on this podcast. We get sponsored through, gifts and, anything that people send us, which I've been very blessed to receive buy me some coffees from a lot of my listeners. And I just want to say thank you for that, because it does encourage me and inspire me to keep going. But I think to myself, okay, I've been dealing with my own demons lately, and I'm going to share them openly with you because I've shared everything in my book with you in my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom. One of the things about resiliency that I was reminded of at the sunrise ceremony is that it's in us all. It is in there. When I find myself laying on the bed and I'm thinking, do I want to get up or do I want to just lay here? I have to tell myself, no, you've got to get up. You've got to do it. You've got to get up and you've got to move. Something about me is that I get really bored easily. And I believe a lot of us do. I get bored easily because I'm a very big overachiever. I go after something, I get it, and then I got it. And then I'm like, okay, now what? Now what's next? But at the heart of the matter of everything that I do, writing the book, doing the retreats, when I did my speaking engagements, doing this podcast, at the heart of everything is that I know there are people out there suffering. I know that there are people out there who feel lonely. I know that there are people out there who just want to be heard, but feel trapped inside their own minds, inside their own emotions, that they can't, or they feel stuck, like they can't get out of it. And I'm here to tell you that you can. And the reason I know this is because I battle with this myself many, many times. I recently had a discussion with my boyfriend that, I've been angry a lot lately. And I think a lot of that stems from the passing of my mother. She was my best friend. She is my best friend. And I feel lost. I feel hurt. I feel angry. She was such a good person, such a good light. But yet there's all these evil people out there, and, she got the short end of the stick. I'm very angry about that. But then I think to myself, like, look, mom taught me so much in life. She also taught me so much going through, the last months of her life. And that was just humbleness, compassion, self-love, enjoying the small things in life. And I think on that, and I think of that resiliency, that strength that she had, that she was trying to show us that she's passed on to us. She was trying to show us that it's not just passed on, but it's in the human spirit. It's in the human DNA to be resilient. And that's why I keep doing what I do, because I've got to be the example. I've got to be the example of showing others that you can be strong, you can be resilient, especially in the darkest and darkest of times. So I get up every morning. I do my routine, my ritual that makes me feel good in the mornings. I get my tea ready. I throw my affirmations on or my motivations, and I just begin to feed my mind instantly before anything else can get in there. I make my bed. My bed is like the number one thing that has to be made for me to feel like my morning is ready to rock. And then I put my workout clothes on. Let's talk about working out for a second, because it's different for many of us. And I think there's this idea that it's the same for everybody. For me, working out is not something I want to say that I like to do, because it's not something I like to do. I do not like to work out, people. People have this idea like, oh my God, look at Helen, she just loves working out. No, I don't like working out. I don't hate it. I just really don't like it. I don't like it because I'm honestly lazy in that area as far as the desire to work out. Big ups to everybody out there who loves working out. Okay, I love you. You're amazing. I probably Instagram watch you and everything. But for me, I work out because it is a form of medicine for me and my mental health. And if I find myself, like, if I'm sick for 2 weeks or something, I literally am like, I'm fantasizing about working out. That's how much working out means to me as far as my mental health goes. And I believe by me visualizing myself working out while I'm sick, or when I can't work out, or when I'm sore and taking time off, that's still feeding my mind, my brain, telling my brain that, hey, I'm working out visually. And that's enough for my brain to say, okay, all right, we're good. We're good emotions. Everybody good in here, So that's why I work out. I can tell you what I do love. I love doing yoga. I love doing yoga, and I just celebrated my 7 years of being a yoga instructor. Woo! This is so huge for me, because being a yoga instructor has been phenomenal. Teaching at retreats, teaching workshops all through Phoenix, Alaska, Wyoming, California. It's been just such an incredible journey for me. And 7 years for me is a big number. Commitment's always been a big struggle for me. So to stay committed to the endeavors that I have is such a big celebration, and which it should be. So when I'm talking about all of this, I'm lighting up. I'm feeling good about it. And then the day starts over and complacency sets in. I'm going to give you something to think about, that I've given myself something to think about. And I actually started doing this years ago. And it basically sets my tone. Here's the question. What is your relationship like with commitment? What is your relationship like with discipline? And what is your relationship like with happiness and joy? So when I think about this question, let's go to the first one, discipline. Or what was it? Commitment. What is my relationship like with commitment? Well, I can tell you in the past, it was really, really off and unbalanced and very chaotic. And because my relationship with commitment itself was chaotic, my relationships, like in my outside world, was very chaotic. My relationship changed with commitment when I was in Oregon, and I started realizing that commitment is meaningful when I have a relationship with trust, when I have a relationship with honesty, when I have a relationship with loyalty, with love and forgiveness, with myself. That's when my relationship with commitment began to change. And then that's when I started to attract really healthy commitment projects and relationships like the one I'm in. I'm very happy. I love him. He's such a good man and such a healthy person for me. And we're healthy for each other. And it's been great. And I really believe that came from my turning point of changing my relationship with commitment and all of those things that I mentioned. The second one was, the second question is, what is your relationship with discipline? Now, discipline for me was always just like, whatever. But when I began to change my perspective on the relationship with discipline, such as, am I disciplined to say, no, I shouldn't eat that. No, I shouldn't drink that because I've got this going on. That's one of them. I've had a really big struggle with discipline, but then something changed in me, and I'm going to tell you what changed. It changed when I started becoming more disciplined with my physical health, working out. Of course, like I told you earlier, I don't like working out, but I basically was like mom myself. I was like, nah, you're getting in there and you're working out. And when I did, I started realizing I have more control of my mind. I have more control of, my emotions, because I can tell myself, sure, I acknowledge you feel this way, but we're still going to do this anyways, because that's discipline. David Goggins talks about it, embracing the suck. My son talks about it a lot too. And I love that because it's true. It sucks sometimes, but the discipline is saying, yeah, it sucks, but I'm going to do it anyways. And I love, love, love. And I mentioned this all through everything I almost post. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways by Susan Jeffers. And that was a big turning point when I read that book on how to feel the fear, make moves anyways. Feel the intimidation, make moves anyways. Feel the complacency, make moves anyways. So that became the encompassing factor for my relationship with discipline. When I began to have that relationship and healing it and restoring it and recovering it and making it and molding it into what it is today, I realized, it became something that's a part of my life. It's no longer something I'm going to do. I want to do. It is me. It is a part of what Helen does every single day. Okay, so those were the first two questions. What is your relationship like with commitment? What is your relationship like with discipline? And the next one, what is your relationship like with happiness? Happiness is a word that gets just thrown around all the time. And, it's different and it can mean different things for everybody. Happiness can be success for some people. Happiness can be good, healthy relationships. It can be just a crunchy little taco. But my relationship with happiness is really just feeling energized. If I have really good energy, I feel happy. And it's crazy because I can look around and everything's great in my life. And I can think to myself, like, I'm really down today, but yet everything's good. What is the missing link there? And I always do this like checklist, like, okay, where am I at in my cycles? How are my relationships? What's going on within myself? Everything starts within me. And I'm always questioning what's going on. And most of the time it comes back to energy. Where's my energy at? And energy is so valuable to me because where I invest it is very important. And, when you invest your energy, there's always an ROI, a return on investment. So I'm going to talk about giving. Giving is vitally imperative in my life because I realized a long time ago that the more you give, the more you receive. And that's in all things. I'm talking about you give bad energy, you give negativity, you give, just poo-poo, caca, BS to the world, it's going to give it back to you. And I'm sorry, but I just don't got time for that. People are dying left and right in my life. Like, I could be next. And I think about that a lot. Like, I could be next. I want to make sure my energy is fed every day. Every day. There's these, quotes that always go around, like, what would you do if today was your last day? Or, life is short. Let me tell you why it's short, because people are randomly dying next to you, people you love, and it hurts. And your number could be up. And I think about that. I think about that to myself. And I think, well, okay, then have I done everything I've wanted to do? Or have I done things that make me feel good today, at least today? Do I have some memories that I'm creating today? And I ask myself, because I'm doing a self-check, because it helps me stay in touch with my relationship, with happiness, with joy, with peace. Now, complacency has this way of etching itself in and saying to you, okay, well, why do all of this? Like, what's the point? What is the point of doing anything? Then you start getting like, oh, I'm sad. Like, I feel bad and sorry for myself. But then I think about it, like, why do I feel bad for myself? Some of those things come from triggers from, spending too much time on social media and comparing yourself to so many people. I don't know why we compare ourselves to so many people. I mean, look at us. We're different. We're different than the person next to you. But yet we want the same thing. And I'm guilty of it. And I know you're guilty of it. And I really want to invite you and myself to really start doing some soul feeding and soul nourishing, because that's where the energy needs to go. I was thinking about this when I see a lot of Facebook posts. I mean, I'm pretty big on social media. I do a lot of social media things for my business. And I'm going to tell you something. I used to be a grinder. Before everything happened with my mom, I was grinding out. I was like, I'm going to be a high paid coach. I was on my way. I was doing all these things like retreats, blah, blah, blah. I was on fire. And then after going through the 3 months with my mom, I realized what really mattered to me in life. Now, it could be different for everybody else, but for me, I realized, why am I doing and going and grinding so hard when everything I need to be turning my energy into right now is literally the people in my life? I need to be developing and nourishing and feeding those relationships, because that's what matters at the end. I watched my mom do so much for so many people. And then a lot of those same people didn't even show up to her side. But it made her happy in the end to be such a giver, to be such a loving person. And that taught me something, that if I'm going to do anything, if I'm going to give anything, do it because it makes me feel good and because it feels good to give. But don't do it with expectations. But also be mindful of where you are sending your energy, and really start turning it towards nourishing the things that you really want to do, the things that you really love to do. So, when it comes to success has been so redefined in my life. Let me ask you, what is your definition of success in your life right now? Is it the same that it was 5 years ago, or has it changed? Has it evolved? Has it shifted? Because that's a really good question to ask yourself. I know for me, success 5 years ago was having tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money in the bank, big house, being able to travel wherever I wanted to go, going to see everything in the world that I wanted to see, and having lots of great sex. It is so shifted beyond anything I could have ever thought it would. I've realized I have the money. The money's already here. It really is. So I don't need that. Well, I don't want to throw it off from the universe. Please send me whatever. Send me whatever, universe. I'm very thankful. But what I'm saying is, it's not the big house anymore. It's not the, tons of cars. It's not the tons of money, in the bank account. It's not the trips anymore. Now, if it is for you, go for it, get after it, make it happen, because that's amazing. Like I said, we're all in different parts of our journey. For me, I've traveled the world. I've done a lot of things. But for me now, it's shifted. Success to me is self-compassion, self-love, physical fitness, happiness, being a good person to my partner, being a good listener, a good communicator. You know, you can go and have the lavish lifestyles. You can have the best podcasts out there. You can be the top notch, most liked with thousands of followers, and be a really ugly person to your partner. I just got done watching Surviving Compton with Michelle. I don't know if a lot of you remember her, but she is a singer and she was married to Dr. Dre and Suge Knight. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, oh my God, she is probably one of the most underrated singers of the 90s. And I can't believe the role that she played in helping the success of the rap groups, but she was getting beat up like the whole time. Not the whole time, okay, but she was getting beat up really, really bad. And it's so heartbreaking to watch, because there are so many people who are being idolized in the world today. They're being put on pedestals, but they're hurting people. Like, they're hurting people physically, verbally, And we just got done watching the Johnny Depp and the Amber Heard case, and me and my boyfriend were following it pretty intensely. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, they were a really toxic couple. I know everybody's like, oh my God, Johnny Depp, yay. And I love Johnny Depp. He's amazing as far as a good actor goes. But I listened to a lot of things he did too. I mean, drugs and blacking out. And I think, like, if my partner did that, I would be so hurt and I would be disgusted and I'd want to get out of the relationship, but they were both toxic for each other. And I just think to myself, like, man, I don't want to judge them, and I don't want to judge like anybody else, but I can say for myself, I've been there, done that, and I never want to be there again. Never. And if you're out there and you're listening and you know what I'm talking about, give me a like, a love, and a share, because let me tell you something. When you've been abused, when you've been verbally assaulted, when you've been with a narcissist, or you've been in these really toxic relationships, it's ugly. It's ugly, and it shouldn't be idolized. It's things that we do need to talk about, because it triggers a lot of trauma in so many people. It makes people have PTSD. It hurts people. It's awful. It's ugly, y'all. Okay. And I'm laughing because it's like this thing that we just kind of like look and we applaud, or we give a thumbs up and thumbs down, and we move on to the next. Meanwhile, there's just awful things going on in this world. Now, okay, I'm going to bring it back in. I'm going to bring it back in because, like I said, why am I doing what I do? I'm doing what I do because I want to give that hope, that love, that strength, and that shout out to any of you who are out there struggling. You can be up and you can be down. You can be up, you can be down. And if this is you, I feel you. I can relate. I am always up, down, up, down, up, down. I have extreme highs and extreme lows. One of the things that I prided myself on for many years was having somewhat of control over my lows. Because my highs were so high and then my lows were so lows, I started developing this strategic action I would do when my lows were coming. Like, okay, I'm not going to let it get under a certain point, where I start thinking suicide and anger and hurting and just really bad thoughts. I started devising a plan where I would basically stop myself and say, we can be low, but we can't get lower than this because it's dangerous for me. Now, recently, I've noticed that I've been hitting under those lows a little bit, that low point, the lower than low point. And I'm like, okay, we got to figure this out. We got to figure out fast because I'm better than that. I've moved past this. I know the work. I know the tools. I know what to do. I just got to do them. So I invite you, if you know what to do, the tools are out there, just do them. And if it's hard for you to get your body up to do them, you are, like they say, you are the captain of your ship. You are the master behind the masterpiece, the painter behind the masterpiece. I think that sounds better. But you have so much control, and you've got to tell yourself that you've got control. Now, complacency doesn't belong here. It doesn't belong here. Now, it's interesting to see it in our lives, because then you know what it is, and you know the difference between complacency and then moving from that. And I think that's a human experience that we should experience, so we know better, so we know what to move on from. But when it's here, say, okay, hi, and bye, Felicia, like, get out of here, because it doesn't belong in our lives. It's like a bad vermin coming to just eat up all your food and poke holes in your rice. Like, that's not good. So I just wanted to share that with you and let you know what's been going on in my life, let you know what's going on in my mind, and that there is hope out there. And that I am coaching, but I'm very careful on who I'm coaching now. I am going to be doing speaking events again, but maybe in the future. What I'm practicing now in my life is easy forms of abundance. And what I mean by that is I'm no longer going after something steadily. Like, if it flows into my life, because the universe ain't stupid. The universe knows what I want. The universe knows what I desire, because I put it out there every day in my visualizations, in my prayers, in my energy. So universe knows and will send that to me, and it will come easily and effortlessly in abundance, because I am a good person. I am a great and powerful light. And I believe you are too. We don't have to keep pushing all of this, these sales tactics on everybody for all of our products and all of our things. I mean, unless that is your job, unless that is like the way you make your money 100%. And then you feel like you've got to do this, these things, these strategics to make those moves. Good for you. Like, hey, this is not a sales podcast today, but I could do a whole podcast on sales. I was in sales and marketing for many, 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 many years. But this is more about, allowing yourself to be set free, allowing yourself to just flow with the energy, flow with the water, but also have control with something to say, hey, I want to flow this way now. I want to flow to the right. I want to flow to the left. I want to flow, U-turn. I want to flow in the direction that makes me feel good with my life. And that's what it's about. I was thinking about this yesterday, about my reviews that I've been receiving, and I'm always getting 5 stars. So thank you so much. But I recently received a 3-star, and in the 3-star, the reader recommends my book, tells everybody how amazing it is, and how, I'm this powerful, inspirational person per se, not in those exact words, but then says the reason she gave me 3 stars was because my rawness was a little too much for her. And I posted it up and I said, thank you. And I did not look at it like a negative at all, because one, it was very raw and real for the reader to post that. They took the time out to do that. So thank you. That's amazing. Not everybody has to do things for you like that. And I actually thought that's actually a very bold review, because it validated what the book is. The book is raw and real. It is 100% full authenticity. Now, it is a created nonfiction, meaning it's been changed a bit to protect my identity, to protect the identity of many people who are in the book, even though my identity probably isn't going to be protected much. But, I just really respected that. And I really loved the review. 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that somebody took the time out to give me a review, and they gave it to me honestly. And I appreciate that, because a 3-star review, 1-star review, or a 5-star review is not going to change. It's not going to change the way that I feel about myself, which is powerful, awesome, strong. So I really want to say, if you're somebody out there, if you're an author, if you're, you're making your endeavors, like, don't give up because somebody has something to say about what you are doing or what you've done. People are going to talk about their opinions. People say the most craziest things. And you got to understand, it's not about you. It is about them. This is the way they feel. Let them feel the way they want to feel, because you are not them. I am not you. You are not me. The cool thing about this human experience is that we get to listen and learn about each other's journeys through this weird matrix, like, it's weird. It's a weird human experience if you think about it. Everything kind of reflects everything, the flowers, the way they grow, the way they all have, everything has a lifespan. I can trip out on this, so I'm not going to go too much in detail because I'm fascinated by the human experience. I'm fascinated by it. And I'm also saddened by it because you get so emotionally attached to people that you love, and then you lose them, and it just sucks so bad. But I really hope and pray that there is another lifetime where we can see the ones that we love, so we can hug them and say, whoa, wasn't that such a kick-ass human experience? Whoa, wasn't that such a weird human experience? I never want to do it again, or I'd love to do it again. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, wouldn't that be cool? Anyways, I could go off on a tangent on that because I'm so fascinated by it. My hope for you is that if complacency is in your life anywhere and you want it out of your life, that you grab it by the balls, rip its head off, and say, no mas, okay? No mas, not today. No, in all reality, I really just hope that if there's any type of negative vibes or energy that is in your life, destroying your life, whether that be toxic relationships, toxic mindsets, toxic friends, negative energy, things that you shouldn't be doing, that you are, but that's been harmful for your mind, body, spirit, put your foot down and say, I'm in control of this bitch, and we're getting out of here, and we're freeing ourselves. We're going to do better. We're going to get better. We're going to live better. So thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Ahie, asho ahie. Muchas gracias. And thank you. Please leave your reviews. I'd love to hear your comments. You can send them to SexyFreedomNow at Gmail. Also, don't forget, my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, is on Audible now, so you can check that out as well. And thank you, and hope you enjoy this podcast. Ciao.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at SexyFreedomMedia.com.